What do you do when you've got these guys on your team? Hey guys, my name is Muhammad. This is Heavy Metal FPL. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to go through a bunch of different options and decide on whether you should keep them or whether you should sell them. In addition to that, I'm going to talk about transfer options for Game Week 11 and decide on captaincy. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. I thought I ought to reiterate on the premium picks, which I've mentioned in one of my earlier videos. I think these 8 are the best picks in FPL as of the moment. If anything, you should try to buy one of them and you should not sell them. If you've got any of these guys in your team, I don't think you should sell them, especially this game week. Even some of them have hard fixtures, but I think you keep them. These guys are holders for now. As of now, from what we've got in the data so far this season, these are the guys you want to keep in your team. Yeah, I've said that like 4 times in a row, I think now. But look, if there's any doubt with these guys, I think maybe it might be with Saka, right? Maybe there's like a lot of options for Arsenal. Maybe they might be better. You might get your value elsewhere. I thought of selling Son before this game week and getting Saka. But I've come to the conclusion that Son is one you want to keep in your team, in addition to all of these guys. So Saka might have a little bit of doubts, but I still think he's the best Arsenal asset to have in your team, and they've got good fixtures. Trippier, I will go into detail with in a bit, because he's one of the picks that I've mentioned in this video. Alvarez is still really, really good. He didn't return in the last match, but he's got Bournemouth at home next. He could potentially haul in that. All these other guys, I don't want to go into detail because you know how good they are, but I want to reiterate this because I think these guys are the closest to essential in the game at the moment. And yeah, it goes without saying, if you have them in your team, you keep them in your team, you build around them. Next, I want to talk about Trippier. So the reason there's a little bit of doubt about Trippier right now is because in his last match, he got 0 points against Wolves, and also his next match is against Arsenal. Now, he's in my team, and I'm not thinking of selling him whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of starting him even though he's got Arsenal next. I've got Taylor on the bench. I'm thinking of putting Taylor in, but not so much, just because Trippier, even though he's playing against one of the hardest teams in the league, he's still a really good asset. He's on free kicks. He's on corner kicks. He attacks for Newcastle. He might be a bit defensive in this game, but his ceiling is so high that he could come up in any game and give you a lot of points. So just the fact that I'm contemplating not benching him this week just shows you how much I think about selling him. I would not sell him whatsoever. He is a definite keeper in my team. Next, I want to talk about Matthias Jensen. So I brought up Matthias Jensen before in my earlier video, and I was saying that all Mbuemo's points have gone to him, and now it seems to have gone the other way. Now, I gave a warning about Jensen. I didn't say that he was a perfect pick. I did say his underlying statistics were showing that they might drop back to the mean. They were showing that his goals are basically very unlikely from unlikely positions, and that has come into fruition. In his last 3 matches, he scored 3 and then 2 points. Before that, he scored 10 points, and that's where he was basically a good pick. But the thing is, with these types of picks, it's like they're kind of streaky, so they might get into a bit of form, but then it immediately stops. He plays behind, he plays in basically central midfield for Brentford. So Mbuemo, Wissa, whoever might think of who plays at the front might be a better pick for Brentford at this point. If you have him in your team, if I had him in my team currently right now, I just think, look, he's got West Ham United next at home. That's a fixture that's not necessarily the hardest. He could come up with something. I think I would give him one more chance before selling him. Matthias Jensen, he was never going to be a long-term pick. I just thought he would be like a good punt maybe as someone, but I think if you've got other fires in your team, maybe concentrate on those before going for selling someone like Jensen. I'd say give him one more chance. Maybe he'll give you a return against West Ham, and then before that, before the fixtures against Liverpool away and Arsenal at home, drop him then. For now, Matthias Jensen is a keep. Next is Gabriel for Arsenal. Now, Gabriel is a bit complicated. Now, here's the thing. I think a lot of people want to get in the Arsenal defense, right? They're one of the best teams in the league, and they've got a strong defense in general, right? So he's one of those guys you want to target their defense. But the thing is, what FPL has shown us this season is that White is perhaps a better pick, even though he's more expensive, very, very expensive. And Saliba seems to be more solid, or at least has more solid place in the Arsenal lineup. Gabriel at 4.8 million for Arsenal. It's a good way to get into the Arsenal defense, but the thing is, he keeps getting rotated. You know, we had that problem in the beginning of the season where he kept getting rotated, and we were getting frustrated with him. I stuck with him at the time, and then he ended up starting a few matches, so that was good. Right now, he's been benched for that game. I think he's gonna start against Newcastle. You know, it's a hard fixture. I don't think he's likely to keep a clean sheet against them. So I'm a bit on edge when it comes to Gabriel. What do you do with an asset like this who might not start or anything? If I like, I could tell you from now, there's a bunch of picks in FPL that are better than Gabriel. I think Simicast is a better option right now. I think Saliba is a better option, even though it's a bit more expensive. Even White is a bit more expensive if you want the Arsenal defense. White could also get you an assist. Gabriel might get you an odd goal here or there. I think if you don't want to deal with this rotation nonsense that keeps happening with Arsenal and keeps happening with Gabriel, maybe you sell him right now and get rid of him. But he wouldn't be the biggest fire I want to put out in my team. It's always like these defensive picks aren't the most exciting, obviously, you know, but if you want to sell them, there's so many different options. There's cash. There's the Arsenal picks that I just mentioned. There's even Crystal Palace, Guehi, and Anderson. There's Simicast from Liverpool. So if I wanted to lean one way, I would say so hard with Gabriel. What do you do? What do you do with a guy like this? He's got 3 clean sheets, right? 3 clean sheets as of the start of the season. That's from 6 matches that he started. He could get you a clean sheet. Look, I would say sell him if he's the only problem in your team right now. Otherwise, you keep him. You see Arsenal's got fixtures here, like really, really good ones. They've got Burnley at home, they've got Wolves at home, and they got Brentford away and Luton away. So a bunch of good fixtures right there after that Newcastle away fixture. I would hold. I think he starts about 4 out of those 5 fixtures. I would say for Gabriel, just so I'm not like dancing on the edge here, I would say keep him for now. Keep him. Next is Martin Odegaard. Now, this one's another complicated one. He plays for Arsenal. 8.5 million, 3 goals and 2 assists. He plays against Newcastle away next. Here's the thing with Martin Odegaard. He's a really, really good player, right? He's very creative. He can get you an assist on any day. He's a big game player as well. He might come in and score a goal for Arsenal in their next match against Newcastle. He got benched in the last game, but I don't think that's going to be a common thing. I think Arteta just benched his players to give them a bit of a rest, but I think he's going to come with the strongest lineup against Newcastle. But the thing with Odegaard is that he's 8.5 million, so you have to weigh that against the other options in FPL who are at that same price range or even more. So if you can upgrade Odegaard to Son, I would definitely go for it. It's because it's not only that you're selling Odegaard, right? So if you want to keep Odegaard and not have Son in your team, for example, or Madison or any one of the picks that I mentioned in the earlier ones, the premium ones, you would have to bet that Odegaard does well and also that those guys don't do well. Because if you have him in your team, you're likely not having a Son or not having a Salah, not having a Madison in your team. You could potentially upgrade to one of those 3 with all that money that you've got. You'd have to hope for him to do well and for those guys not to do well. And some of those have really good fixtures. Like you've got Son and Madison, right? Even though they've got like not necessarily the easiest fixture. They play against Chelsea. But I still think they can score. They're big game players. So, and Odegaard doesn't have the easiest fixture himself. It's Newcastle away. For me, Odegaard, I would definitely sell and get rid of that problem. I think at that price range, you can go for many other options who will keep you in a safer position and potentially give you even more points. And also, they would have higher ownership, so you won't be dropping down in the rankings so much. There's much more upside to selling Odegaard than there is to keep him. So I would sell. Next is Emiliano Martinez. Now, he's an exciting pick. There's not a lot of ownership for Martinez, but he's got a bunch of good fixtures coming up. You know, Nottingham Forest away next, Fulham at home, and then there's Bournemouth away like a few weeks after that. Look, the thing is with goalies, what you want to hope for is clean sheets or penalty saves. That's the only thing you can hope for. They'll get an assist, but that's very, very, very rare. Martinez is the type of guy who could get you a penalty save every now and then. He hasn't gotten one this season, but he's the type of goalie that might get you a penalty save. He's really good at that, as we saw from the World Cup. Plays for Aston Villa. Like, I would honestly rather have Cash in my team, or I'd rather have Pau Torres as a defender, or maybe even Digne from Aston Villa. But the thing is with goalie transfers is that they're not exciting whatsoever, and I don't think there's any upside to trying and selling Martinez. Because who would you sell him for? If you want to go for Allison or Edison, they're very expensive. So they'll keep away funds that you might want to use to upgrade anywhere else in your team. I think the mentality when it comes to goalies nowadays has to be you save as much money as possible. You get a goalie that plays for a decent team and you just keep him there and not have to worry about him all season, and you upgrade elsewhere in your team. So you try to look for an easier for like a cheaper option. That's why Martinez, I think, is a bit expensive for his value as a goalie, because I went for Areola from West Ham because he was 4.3 million, right? 4.3 million. He plays for West Ham. They could get you a clean sheet here and there. There's not much upside to him, obviously, but all the funds that I got from having Areola helped me to upgrade my team in many different ways. That being said, if you've got Martinez in your team, I don't think it's worth wasting a transfer on a goalie unless you're maybe on a wild card. If you're on a wild card and you want to just change up your team and get like, shuffle everything, I would definitely sell him. But if you're just working with a free transfer, I would not prioritize any goalie sale. Especially if it's someone who plays for Aston Villa who could get you clean sheets. He could potentially get you like 3 clean sheets, 2 or 3 out of the next 5. So as a conclusion for Martinez, I would definitely keep. But if you're on a wild card, definitely change him to someone else. Perhaps Areola, because he will give you the best value for your money. Next is Ward-Prowse. Now, Ward-Prowse plays for West Ham. He was one of my picks in the budget midfield options in one of my earlier videos. He's kind of slowing down right now. Only 2 points in his last 3 matches, 2 points each in each of them. He's still got the really, really good fixtures. The next 4 are really, really good. But he's slowing down, right? He's got Brentford away next. He could score a free kick. He's I think the best free kick taker in the Premier League at the moment. And he could get you a point here and there. He bombs forward sometimes, and he does score the occasional goal. And he's got the good fixtures. Now, even though he's slowed down, just because of like how West Ham's fixtures are looking, even though they're not in the best form at the moment, they're a bit shaky. I would not sell Ward-Prowse at the moment. If you got him in, you're probably not hoping for he had a good start to the season and then he slowed down a little bit, but you're probably not expecting him to like get you returns every single week. But he's got a high potential with the upcoming fixtures. So hopefully West Ham pick up some form. I would give him a bit of a chance before looking to sell him. I would maybe keep him this week. I would keep it for this week. I would also keep him for Nottingham Forest at home next week, and I would see how he does. If he's still not returning, then I would potentially sell him for someone else. There's a lot of picks under 6.2 million that you could go for. There's Gordon for Newcastle, there's Chan from Wolves, there's what's he called, Cole Palmer from Chelsea, and there's the Brighton picks as well that you could potentially go for. So Ward-Prowse, you could definitely upgrade. If there are other fires in your team, I would put those out first. I would give him a bit of a chance before going on to sell him. So for me, he is a keep. And so I want to revisit this. I want to revisit my current transfer option. Now, I've got Pedro Neto. I've still got him on my team and he's injured and I need to get rid of him, but I'm not sure for who. I got these 5 options. I've narrowed it down to 2 as of my last video. It was between Hee-Chan and Adingra. I think I'm leaning towards Hee-Chan. I think I'm going to pull the plug and just get that transfer in. I think Hee-Chan has more numbers backing him. I think he's more proven asset, and he plays against Sheffield United away next, which I think is a really good fixture. There's a lot of potential for Hee-Chan over there. In terms of reducing funds, Adingra might give me that, but there's so much rotation in that Brighton lineup, and there's so many different ways that they could score, and their form isn't that good. So I'm not that eager on getting Adingra, and even if he does spare me 0.7 million that I could use elsewhere. Hee-Chan, on the other hand, I'll save 0.2 million. I think he's up to 5.6 million now, so he'll spare me 0.1 million. It's not so much, but I think if I want to spare the funds, I would look at it elsewhere. I'm going to keep my 2 transfers Perhaps down the line, I might look at selling Trippier, maybe when his fixtures become a bit hard, which is in a few weeks, not right now. As I mentioned in the video, like basically you keep Trippier. I'm going to emphasize that. Keep Trippier. Maybe down the line, I would sell him and then perhaps try to upgrade one other person in my team to someone who I don't have, like a Saka or perhaps a Darwin Nunez or a Watkins. But for now, I think I'm going to go with Pedro Neto to He-Chan. So next, I want to go to the captaincy options for game week 11. We've got two. I think like it wasn't like last week where we got 5 options. This one we've got two. I think it narrows it down very well. But these are the two best performing assets in FPL right now. We've got Haaland who's back. I don't think he's a doubt anymore. We've got Salah who plays against Luton. So two best performers. How do you separate these guys? It's pretty much a coin flip at this point, right? Anyone that you go with is really good. But I think what edges it for me is the home fixture. So Haaland plays at home against Bournemouth, who are really, really bad. And we have been disappointed before by picks who go up against Luton. We had Son go up against Luton and we captained him and he didn't do well. We had Watkins who went up against Luton and he also blanked. So that gives me a bit of a warning before going for Salah. I don't think he's going to blank, but I just think that Haaland edges it. And another thing for me is that Salah played midweek and EFL. So he had a midweek fixture and they're going to play against Luton. Luton are probably going to be pumped up to try and get something out of this match. City are probably are on fire right now. They just beat Man United 3-0. And yeah, at Bournemouth at home, it's hard to discount Haaland, right? And he's probably going to be captained by most players in FPL. So if anything, it's a defensive move to have him picked. It's a safe option because many others are going to be captaining him as well. If you lose out on him, you'll probably not go down so much in the rankings because everyone else is captaining him. For me, between Haaland and Salah, I would say Haaland is the safe option. Salah is a bit of a riskier option. Me personally, I'm going to go with Haaland. And that wraps it up for this video, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what I do, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm going to bounce for now, and I will see you all later.